Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing right from where we left off in the beginner's guide. So in the last video I told you guys to get through scenario, do Summoner's Way, and if you did, you should have all locations unlocked, and you should have the novice tab in Summoner's Way completed, and you should have all these amazing rewards. Now, here's a few things by this point you're probably asking questions about. Hey, I got a room pick ticket at I think it was either Fair and Castle or Aiden Forest, I can't remember. What should I use it on? If you are following me down to the dot, probably energy runes. But depending on which team you're going to be using in Giants, you might pick like blade runes or fatal runes. For me, I picked energy. And some of you might be wondering, what about the runes that you get from the new user event? All these runes down here. I'm using these... I'm using all these runes on all of my teams. The only runes I'm not actually using at the moment are the Fatal Blade runes. But we'll get to that in a second. So now that we beat that, we can finally start focusing on our Giants team. The reason we want to complete Giants is because Giants, again, drops tons of runes. Runes that we're going to need for future monsters and future teams. And runes that are actually going to be quite better than the runes that the game gives you in the beginning, even out of the Summoner's Way event. And if you don't believe me, let me show you something. These runes that they give you are blue runes. Meaning that any runes that you're going to obtain in Giants B12, which again we're going to be aiming for, it will probably be better than these. But let's actually get into it. So, what are some teams that we can take into Giants? There's the Veromos team, Sigmar's team, the Sath Tattoo team. For the sake of the beginner's guide, we're going to go with the Veromos team. Reason being is, one, I haven't used the Veromos team in forever. And two, it is one of the safest teams a beginner can take. It doesn't require too much work, and it is very consistent. So, to understand how this team works, we need to go into the strategy info and talk about what does the Giant do. Now, the waves aren't too big of an issue. This team actually has decent wave control, which we will talk about in a little bit. But the main thing is the Giant himself, right? So, the very first thing we need to understand about the Giant is that he has two towers when you get to the boss stage. The one on the very far left increases the boss's attack for 3 turns, and the one on the very right decreases all of your allies' defense for 2 turns. Mixed with the boss's passive and just sheer stats, this can be very devastating, which is why I recommend the Veromos team. Other teams like the Sigmar's team contains a lot of squishy units, and the Sath Tattoo team could also be pretty devastating for them. But the Veromos team utilizes tankiness. It utilizes damage reduction and reducing the amount of damage you guys are bringing in, while also buffing your team and getting a lot of turns out. So, first off, whenever the boss takes a turn, any of the attacks he does is going to target all of your allies. And depending on which one he uses, he can stun an ally or reduce their attack speed. This we're going to use to our advantage in our team, which you will see in a second. The passive, which is a very big thing about the boss, is that whenever he gets attacked 7 times, he will counteract the enemy that had attacked him last, aka attacking one of your allies that had attacked him last. And mixed again with a defense break and an attack buff, he's known actually to one-shot a lot of monsters, especially the 12th floor. I mean, especially if you decide to run like the Sigmar's team, for example. He could one-shot like Sigmar's. Heck, he can bring even some win units down to very low health if you're not careful. Now, let's actually get into the team. Though. So the first unit that's going to be on your team is Veromos himself. This guy is amazing. As you can see, I don't have him ruined. Actually, I just got him fused and awakened not too long ago. But he's a very useful unit. Let's start off with his leader skill. Now, his leader skill increases the HP of all ally monsters by 33%, When you're talking about 33% more HP, you're talking about more survivability, which as a new player, you're going to want. It's very important, and you can use this anywhere. If you look at some units, their leader skills are a little bit more specific. This one increases the attack power. Some other units actually even are area specific, so you can use some units leader skills in like arena, or some in guild battles but nowhere else. But him, you can use his leader skill everywhere. His first skill is called Mega Smash. It allows him to place continuous damage on enemies for 2 turns with a 50% chance. It becomes 75% chance when fully skilled up, and the damage increases according to attack speed. This is very, very good because Dots does about 5% of the enemy's max health as damage. So when you get to the giant boss has high attack, high defense, and high HP, along with high resistance. So if you can place Dots on him, or continued damage, Dots is another way of saying damage over time, aka continuous damage. You're talking about guaranteed 5% damage, or 5% of the boss's max health as damage every time the boss moves. So this is very good. His second skill, Super Crush, attacks all enemies to inflict damage that's proportionate to the enemy's max HP, and stuns them with a 40% chance. If the target is immune to stun, like the Giant's boss is immune to all inability effects like freeze and stun and all that stuff. The boss or the enemy will have their attack bar decreased by 50% each, with a 100% chance, which is amazing. The harmful effect rate of all these increases by 30%, making the stun happen 70% of the time, and then the attack bar reduction happens still 100% of the time. But this skill, by the way, is very useful for helping get to the boss, especially because not only do you have to face the boss stage, you have to face the initial waves leading up to the boss. And in those waves, you're going to have tons of monsters waiting for you. I mean, we could literally hop in for a second. Okay, so here we are in one of the waves. We're on the third wave of the Giant's Keep. And you can see there's a lot of enemies. And when you get to Giant's B12, when you start doing B12, these enemies are super high leveled, super tanky, and your monsters are not just going to one-shot them like they might at this moment. But they're not going to one-shot them. So Veromos' second skill will be super useful for stunning the enemies. So, no, she's going to kill pretty much, yeah. But him being able to stun these enemies is going to help very much with wave clear. I could have completed that, actually. But it's going to help with wave clear. But not only is it good with wave clear, it's going to help with preventing the boss from getting as many turns out as possible. You know, it's going to help him from getting tons of turns, right? So his passive conversion of magic removes a harmful effect. It removes a single harmful effect, except inability effects like stun and freeze, on all allies each turn. And the allies will recover their HP by 5% for each harmful effect removed, which you're talking about when you're going through the waves. Since he can't remove inability effects, if you guys get frozen by the waves, because you can get frozen by the waves, he will increase the attack bar right here. You'll see, in addition, your attack bar increases by 15% for each harmful effect remaining on the ally after each turn. He will help push their attack bar, allowing them to get turns out faster. Which is good, because you'll be able to push the team out of the frozen state or their inability effect, whatever, much faster. And then when you're talking about the boss stage, where he has a chance to defense break you or place an attack speed slow on your team, you can heal that right off. So Veromos has, not only does Veromos have stuff like stuns, attack bar decreases, and dots, but he also has a cleanse, and he heals and he pushes the attack bar. He just is good all around. You're going to use him tons, I think, even outside of Giants. But, yeah. You can obtain this guy through the Fusion event, or through Fusion in general. Right here, he's in the Fusion hexagram. The game teaches you all about Fusion when you're going through Summoner's Way. Or, not really when you're going through Summoner's Way, but it's in the Summoner's Way tab. When you're going through the new user event, you do get to event number 2, and they allow you to pick units for fusions. For me, I picked the first 3, but for some people, if you don't have the Dark Yeti, you can aim for the Dark Yeti and then fuse together the monsters, or put together the monsters to fuse the other materials, but you can fuse this guy. We will talk about fusion in another video, right? We have so much to talk about in so many videos, right? But he is free to play. Next is Bernard, the Wind Griffin. He's such an amazing unit. His first skill really doesn't do anything until he's second awakened, but we're not going to talk about his second awakened state until later maybe. But he does nothing on his second skill. By the way, we're not going to talk about their second awakened states because they do not need to be secondary awakened to complete this. But Bernard on his second skill attacks the enemy with a body slam and weakens their attack power and defense for 2 turns, which is awesome. And you could do this every 2 turns when fully skilled up. So this is going to be really, really important because when you're in the boss's stage, decreasing the enemy's attack to prevent him from doing tons of damage is very important. But not only that, it's very good to have a defense break, especially when you're talking about you have Veromos doing damage based off of his or the enemy's max HP. You're going to be getting a decent amount of damage in. And since your team already suffers from low damage, a defense break helps tons with getting in that little bit of extra damage. His third skill, Tailwind, increases the attack bar of all allies by 30% and increases their attack speed for 2 turns every 3 turns when fully upgraded. This is going to be... Bernard himself, outside of the Giants team, is very useful. You will probably use him in your arena teams because him being able to push the attack bar, meaning that you guys are going to get your turns faster. Not only that, placing an attack speed buff, meaning that you guys are going to move faster, is super big. Next up is Shannon, the Wind Pixie. Surprisingly, Shannon is a very OP monster in my opinion, right? And you'll see why. So, she attacks the enemy with an energy ball. This attack has a 50% chance of increasing the enemy's chance of landing a glancing hit for 2 turns. Now, a glancing hit is basically, I'll put it somewhere on screen what it does, which again, mitigating the amount of damage that comes in is really big. And she could do this on her basic, on her first skill. And you can see I've already kind of started skilling her up. I think it's vital to skill her up. Having that extra % chance to make the enemy do glancing hits is really big. By the way, on Bernard, I didn't show the runes, but obviously he's Swift Energy. I threw the beginner set that they give you on him. Veromos will talk about his runes in a little bit. But for Shannon, her second skill, she attacks all enemies, decreasing their attack speed for 2 turns with an 80% chance on each target. It becomes a 100% chance every 3 turns when fully skilled up. This skill I really love. I mean, you're talking about an AoE attack that does an attack speed slow. This is great for preventing the waves from getting their turns more often, and this also prevents the boss from getting his turns more often. So not only is Bernard speeding us up, but Shannon is slowing everybody else down. It's a perfect combination. It's awesome. I'm glad that they gave her to you for free. But not only that, the beginning runes that they give you, the spare focus set, I don't like how this is attack %, but we'll deal with it. We could replace it much later on. But the despair set, if you look at it, it gives you a stun rate of 25%. So not only, if you give her this rune set, not only do you have a chance to slow their attack speed, but you also have a chance to stun them. And since this is an AoE attack, you have a chance to stun all enemies. Though you cannot stun the boss. The boss, again, like I mentioned earlier, is immune to inability effects. But, whatever, right? Her third skill, last but not least, increases the attack power and defense of all allies for 3 turns, every 4 turns when fully skilled up. This is really, really big. Again, the attack power buff for all your allies, so you guys do more damage. And again, since your team is lacking in damage, this is really big. But not only that, she increases your guys' defense for 3 turns, which is going to allow you guys to take less damage. As you can see, what this team is starting to do is that they're preventing you from taking tons of damage while also allowing you guys to deal more damage. But Shannon, she's completely free to play. And like Bernard, by the way, I didn't mention, you can obtain Bernard through scenario in case you can't obtain him from scrolls. You can obtain him from scrolls, but if you somehow can't grab him, if you go to Timor Desert, you can get him on any of the stages, potentially as a drop, which that's what I had to do. But you can also obtain them through mystical scrolls, and I think you can obtain them through unknown scrolls, but don't quote me on that. Shannon, on the other hand, they give you her for free when you go through Summoner's Way, go to Challenge, and go to Giant's Keep. If you just look at the strategy info, they give you Shannon for free, already awakened. Other than that, you can obtain her, I believe, through unknown scrolls. I believe you can. I don't pay attention. Clearly, I don't. But she's a very useful monster, and I do obviously suggest skilling her up. But yeah. Next on our list is Belladeon. Belladeon might be one of those monsters that you might have trouble obtaining. You can obtain her through the Light Day, which you will find on Saturday and Sunday. We will talk about secret dungeons in another video, but you can obtain her there. But you cannot obtain her through mystical scrolls. You have to obtain her through either light dark scrolls or secret dungeons. But Belladeon, super important. I gave her the violent energy set, or a violent energy set. Oh, it's a violent will set, but I had these energy runes from the event, so I threw those on her. I think it's better. But violent will work just fine on her. I just threw that on because I had those runes from the event. But Belladeon, let's get into what she does. And make sure she's awakened, because her skills change when she's awakened. But when she does her first skill, she decreases the enemy's defense for 2 turns. Again, another defense break. This is going to be good because if you don't land your defense break with Bernard, she will at least land it. And for 2 turns on her basic skill, this is really cool. Her second skill attacks the enemy and removes all beneficial effects on the target. This is a really big deal, because remember how we said earlier that the giant boss can get an attack buff from his left crystal. So Belladeon being able to strip that right off, aka to take off that attack buff, is really big. Again, essentially preventing us from taking a big amount of damage. Belladeon's third skill fills up the attack bar of all allies by 30%. Again, more attack bar pushing, meaning more turns, and recovers the HP by 30%. It becomes 50% when fully skilled up, and you can do it every 4 turns when fully skilled up. She will actually be the first one we secondary awaken, which I'll make a video on secondary awakenings. Last but not least, we have Darion, the Light Vagabond. Just like Belladeon, you have to either obtain him through Light Day or through Light Dark Scrolls. There's no real other way to obtain him, not that I'm aware of. Now, Darion is relatively easy to rune. For me, I used my rune pick ticket on him, and I picked all energy runes. So we got these right here: triple energy, HP, HP, HP. I will get them to plus 15 soon, but I just left them at plus 12 for the, because I didn't have enough mana. His first skill is Slash Rocks. He swings a giant sword to deal damage and decreases the target's defense for 2 turns with a 40% chance. This attack will deal more damage according to his max HP. It becomes 100% when fully skilled up. I do suggest skilling him up. His second skill attacks an enemy with a sword 2 times. Each attack has a 50% chance to decrease the target's attack power for 2 turns. This attack will deal more damage according to his max HP, and it becomes a 70% chance when fully skilled up, and you could use it every 3 turns. Now, just like Belladeon and Bernard, he decreases defense, so now you have 3 units that are decreasing defense. You can pretty much see at this point, it's guaranteed. And on his second skill, just like Bernard, he decreases attack. So, more often than not, you're going to have the boss with a defense break on him and an attack break, which is going to allow you guys to deal more damage while taking less damage. But that's not why Darion is really on the team. The reason he's on the team really is because of his passive. I mean, these 2 skills are bonuses, but the big part of Darion is his passive. He decreases the damage that other allies receive by 20%. This effect does not accumulate with other damage reduction effect skills, which is kind of good. So it's like, this is, I guess, taken before, like when they're calculating the damage or whatever. This is taken first, like the passive is taken first, and then I guess it decides to count in defense and all that later, which can be good, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure how they exactly do that, but 20% damage reduction, we'll take it. So now that we got all these units kind of taken down. That's going to be our team. Now we didn't talk about Veromos's runes. Reason being is because they don't really give you another rune set, technically, that you can see. But they do give you another rune set, which we will talk about right now. So if you do decide to go with this team, I do suggest going to the challenges and going to Monster Fusion. Now, it'll make you go through the works and kind of show you how fusion works and all that. And it'll make you fuse the Dryad, the Wind Dryad. When you do so, it'll give you a Violent Focus set, which is what we're going to put on Veromos. But, yeah, that's what we're going to put on Veromos. So Veromos will get the Violent Focus set. Bernard has that Swift Energy set. Shannon has a Despair Focus. Belladeon has the Violent Will or Violent Energy if you get runes to replace it. And Darion is Triple Energy thanks to the rune pick ticket. Awesome. So now that we got our team together, now we can start farming. But we'll talk about farming and all those things in the next video. I don't want to make this video too long, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll move, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.